2 weeks is not a lot of time to learn how to keep up with somebody who's been doing something for over a decade. But 2 weeks is enough time to find enough anger inside of me, to find enough motivation to beat the shit out of Adam Cole. I'll figure it out. And August 22nd is going to be a problem for the guy who once called himself the king of NXT. And Triple H, you said you're going to be able to make me famous? Well, your biggest guy's about to get made famous. And it's going to be for eating another right foot to the mouth. I accept. Let's go.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing? How you feeling? Hope you're being safe. We're recording this right now during the Varus between Rick Ross and 2 Chainz. It seems like we record every Varus we record during.
And this is one that I really wish I was saying. Before you sent the link, I was just watching 2 Chainz get his bat blown up by Rick Ross on every turn. It's like absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, it's that bad. 2 Chainz is losing it hard.
Well, I mean, I think we all pretty much thought going in that Rick Ross was going to win. Like, 2 Chainz was going to make it interesting, but like Rick Ross, I mean,
I don't know, man. People were just like, "Oh, it's gonna be mad close," blah blah blah, and I'm just like, I don't think so. And then just right out the gate for the first, I guess, like 10 minutes I was watching, Rick Ross was just bodying him.
Yeah, I mean, we'll make this quick. I know we got a lot to get to. Oh, by the way, this is the Wednesday Night Wrestling Podcast, the premier Wednesday Night Wrestling Podcast, The War Report. Of course, I am Murjani, joined by Cyrus, because you don't know by now. There is a lot to talk about. There was a lot of things that happened, in fact, hours ago, to talk about.
Yes.
Within the realm
today
of NXT and AEW. I figure, ceremoniously, because I feel like it's a theme. It's basically a theme throughout all our shows. Basically from show 20 on. This is show 44. Let's start in the trenches and let's talk about AEW CEO woes, Twitter happenings, and
executive mess-ups, foibles.
Okay, so let's start this off at the beginning. AEW rolled out a new platform for female fans. They called it AEW Heels. So from reading through it, they wanted to make a space for female fans, which is cool. You know what I mean? That in itself is great. On this platform, it's supposed to be seminars, Q&As. It's basically a membership service for community.
Also, which is crazy to me.
Which is like meet and greets. Discussions with industry experts, and customized merch, special promotions. You get it. Blah blah blah. And it's an annual paid subscription of $50 a month. A year. Sorry about that. Yeah, $50 a year. And there was a lot of pushback to that. I get it, because I wrote in my AEW review last night. I was one of the people who wrote about pushback. So, with that, people have been voicing their opinions because they want more out of the AEW women's division. You and I have been,
a lot of people do.
Well, you and I have been voicing that every week. Many female fans of the AEW product have been voicing their displeasure as well, especially looking over across the pond at NXT, who seemingly have 2 or 3 women's matches a week and with storylines.
Insane. Who would have thought? Cause you remember that time where NXT just like didn't have like women on the show like that? Like that was such a dark time.
Yeah, but now it seems like they'll have women's matches headline the show now.
Mm-hmm. Start, end, all the works.
So shout out to Laura. At Rose Planet on Twitter. She actually did a whole Twitter thread about like the shortcomings of the AEW thing. It goes from basically what they've done with Nyla Rose, or lack thereof. Penelope Ford, she challenged for the title, then she's not heard from. She's maybe mentioned in passing, but then Hikaru Shida, it was a thing that I said too. Hikaru Shida basically welcoming all challengers, but only having one match against Diamante last week. And also a big contention, the AEW Women's Tag Team Tournament is on YouTube. It's not on the main show. I don't remember that it was referenced.
Insane to me. And what's even crazier is that, like, it's only like 30 minutes. So
37 minutes.
This couldn't be on the show?
So, like,
this couldn't be on the show?
Well, at least, I would say, like, at least one of these matches would be on the show. Right now, it stands at 473,000 views on YouTube, so it actually is pretty good. Their AEW Dark has been averaging around that, so like it has people want to see it. You know what I mean? And considering that they had a pretty big debut there with Taynara Conti, I would think that they would want to put that on the main show. Okay, that's neither here nor there. You know, like, I don't know.
Nope,
like I said,
gotta get
watching Dynamite.
Zack Ryder.
Well, I mean, like watching Dynamite last night, I don't even remember them mentioning it. Okay, moving forward, Brandy Rhodes. She's been kind of getting some flack on Twitter to the point where I think just recently she deactivated her Twitter.
Yes, literally like 20 minutes ago.
So there was one tweet in particular that got her in hot water, amongst other ones. She was replying to two people, and they were asking her about, you know, the AEW Heel service. And she says, it's for female wrestling fans. Many female fans don't like women's wrestling. You don't have to be a member. We have talked... okay, so... And then Cody has said, like, you know, in kind of in jest, like, oh, well, you know, like, she's trying to do something, you know, for women's wrestling fans, like, how dare her? Basically saying something like along those lines.
Yeah.
We have talked previously on higher ranking position people in AEW kind of joining the Twitter sphere and kind of getting into it with fans. Now, as for me, I probably would have ignored this, and if there's an overwhelming majority of your female fans saying we want more on the show, we want more representation on the show, I would probably listen to them, given that you are asking them to pay 50 of their hard-earned dollars for this subscription service. Like, I would probably, you know what, maybe we should, instead of having Big Swole go against Reba this week. Even though, you know what, that was a cool moonsault that Reba did. Her last match was actually in NXT against Io Shirai and Kairi Sane in a tag match.
Oh.
But
boy, I don't remember when that happened.
But it was a squash. It was 3 minutes. It was 3 minutes of an AEW episode. So I probably would listen to them. You know, other than, like, you know what? I'm just going to be, you know, join Twitter and kind of get in back and forth with you. And then I'm going to ask you to pay $50 for something that I just announced.
It's really insane to me how this whole AEW heel things has been moving. Like, at first, I was excited for it at first because it had something to do with the women on the show. But then I didn't really hear anything about it. Like, an ad spot doesn't even play during the show, you know, during Dynamite for this thing. So I kind of forgot about it. And then when I was watching the women's tournament, I saw the whole ad and I was just like I'm seeing like the second ad, and it's a much longer one because it's on YouTube, and I'm just like, so what is this supposed to be? And then I see this $50 price point that she's trying to get off, and I'm just like, it's just weird, like how you would think this would be necessarily a good idea, because it also promotes, like, you get like you said before, like you get the Q&A, you get, like, you know, you're just in a like kind of like a safe space to talk about women's wrestling or just wrestling in general. And then when people are just like, all right, that's cool, but like, do we necessarily need to pay $50 because we just want to watch the women wrestle on TV? Like, that's like literally it. Like, you don't really have to do this whole like subscription service thing, and just reacted in a very immature way, if you ask me.
Yeah, like, you're asking in a time where, we're in a pandemic. A lot of people are trying to hold tight in their money. Like, a lot of people have lost jobs, unfortunately, or have been furloughed and things like that. And like $50 is a pretty steep price point for, something that you could do. You could just set up like a Discord server. I've said like maybe they should have did AEW Heels and a tier subscription service where like certain things are maybe $10 and then something is $20, and then if you could pay $50, then you can go ahead and do that. Like, just kind of like, how people structure their Patreon accounts. But like, just to pay $50, and for like, I think we can agree that there needs to be, like, with the speaking out movement, and we've talked about that before, like, people in general, like fans in general, need to do better by not only the talent, but female wrestling fans as well. And although like having a female focused thing is great, I think a lot of people talk about, WWE not listening. When people are saying we just want to see, like you said, want more talent on the actual AEW Dynamite show and it not to be an offshoot, and you're like, all right, cool, well, here's a subscription service. Like, it's
really
contentious.
It's insane to me. And just the women's like tag team tournament, like not being on Dark or like on the same show as Dark, it's really just shuffling all the women into like its own like space, or just like separate like universe from everything else that's happening on AEW. Like, why is the women's tournament just on Dark and they get like 30 minutes of the show, and then you do the rest of the show later, or space the women's matches out, or the tournament matches out on the show, and then have men do the thing or whatever and such. And it's AEW just doesn't care about women's wrestling. Like, that's just how I see it right now. They just don't really care.
And plus, you had, like, on the first quarterfinals, show, they had Medusa come out. They had Veda Scott on commentary. You had the Nightmare Sisters. You had Mel, who you hadn't seen in a while. Ariane's first match back. And, of course, like, Anna Jay and Taynara Conti. And they won. And they beat Nyla Rose. So I would want to elevate that. Like, you have a potential signing, Taynara Conti, and then people are raving about her, especially on Twitter. It's like, oh, well, like, she can develop, so great, and things like that. Like, I would want to, like, at least mention that or throw that when I'm on Dynamite, and I just don't remember that being done. It's just, I don't know. Like, I'm sure we'll talk about this.
Taz was trying his best on commentary to like really big her up, but I don't think it was mentioned on the show at all. Like, not even during the Big Swole and Reba match, and it's really disappointing, honestly. Like, I do enjoy women's wrestling a lot, and Brandy is right. Like, maybe there are some women that aren't fans of women's wrestling, but it's just weird that you cater to like that group of like, you just want to like cater to them, really. And I just think that's like so weird to me.
Well, I think that if you wanted to maybe convert those non-fans to fans, saying things on Twitter like that is not the way to go. And those non-fans seeing fans being upset because they don't see enough women's wrestling is another way to dilute your fan base. I'm sure we'll talk about more about this as it goes on, because it seems like it's at the world turn. But the final thing I'll say is I'm going to ask AEW once again to get a PR. Please get a PR.
Definitely.
I mean, I understand that you want to engage with your fans, but in high-ranking positions and then, like, getting into Twitter banter with people, it just looks bad for your company. So, like, get a PR where you could funnel one message through and just kind of go with that. Like, I appreciate Brandy saying that she did pitch the tag team tournament. She did say that. But at the same time, like, this can't happen again. Especially if you're trying to launch new things. Like, you know, stop that. And, well, she's off Twitter now. I mean, well, this has happened before. She'll be back on.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's got to be better. You got to get these ladies on the show. Get Hikaru Shida on the show. You're champion.
Right.
Like, come on.
And it's always the case that the champion's not on the show. And it's kind of ridiculous this time around because there's no excuse that, like, you know, like how Riho had, like, obligations in Japan that she had to fulfill with Stardom. You know, like, there's none of that right now. Hikaru Shida is in the USA. She's here, vocal, ready to go, and they just never really give her that shot. Yeah, and they just don't let her rock.
Mr. Lee, I guess we're doing this the hard way. You know, I haven't seen Regal around here once since he signed me. And since you're the guy who can make things happen, and you haven't, then all of this is on you.
All right, let's switch some gears and let's talk about some NXT. Let's address the elephant in the room first. Adam Cole versus Pat McAfee. I watched the Pat McAfee show, so I see how heelish he can be. At first, I was not for this. I thought it was a ruse. It is a ruse. Like, it's an angle. Because, you know, there's a whole thing of, like, Adam Cole not liking people to call him short, even though Adam Cole is 6 foot and Pat McAfee's like 6'1". Right? They're basically the same height.
Yeah, but it's always been a joke that Adam Cole isn't actually 6 feet, you know? So I definitely think that they're playing into that.
Yeah. What I thought was interesting here, when they were having their banter, Fish and O'Reilly are having their match, a good match against Imperium. That distracts them, and Imperium gets the win. So you're going to have this Adam Cole, Pat McAfee match at NXT TakeOver. But I also think that with Cole doing this, and like some people have hinted at this, like it might be the beginning of the end for Cole's time in Undisputed Era, which I hate because I want to see all of them on the main roster together. What did you think?
Yeah. I just think that at first, obviously, I wasn't too excited for the angle, and I am on the side where I don't think that Adam Cole should really be doing this, honestly, or you shouldn't really be doing this to Adam Cole. But like over time, like I'm trying to not let my first reaction to it be like my only opinion on the situation. And it's kind of hard. Like I'm not a big fan of them doing this while Kyle O'Reilly is having his big return. And, you know, like these dudes are like having an amazing match. And I could not pay attention to the match because all on commentary was really focused on Pat McAfee. And it was just like, if you wanted to do this angle in some shape or form, I definitely think it could have been done much better. Like it probably could have been done earlier on the show, and then Imperium and Undisputed Era could still have their amazing match without having the, you know, distracting commentary. That just like what bothered me. And at first I was just like, honestly, you shouldn't really be doing this to Adam Cole. And then I was just like, Chris Novak pointed out, like, this is the most sports entertainment thing that WWE has done with NXT. And with that, I'm just like, okay, like this is for somebody, you know, like this is going to work for somebody. Somebody was entertained. I probably would liked it a lot if I was entertained, but I just wasn't. But I understand what they're doing, and I'm waiting to see how the story unfolds. A lot of people are very scared for Adam Cole. Like he might lose to Pat McAfee at NXT 30. And I'm just like, let's not take it that far. But it's a very weird situation.
Yeah, I had my reservations because, you know, you had Adam Cole, who is basically the longest reigning NXT champion. he's coming off of that. I'm still kind of thinking him in that view. So like him going against Pat McAfee in a match, I'm like, ah, boy, like you know what I mean? Like it seems too cartoonish. But I think cartoonish things that happened in basically like the main roster, like you've had, Vince McMahon versus, Shawn Michaels and God, like
right,
like, things like that.
But nobody would have ever thought that NXT would have anything really like that. You know,
they're more. I would look to NXT as more, I guess, the serious brand because I just haven't seen them do this before.
Yeah, or just like more subdue. Yeah,
like I wouldn't see like any like star come to NXT. Well, I can't say that now, but like pick a star from like a TV show and like them fighting like Karrion Kross. Like challenging him, like the Tyson Fury stuff. Like I wouldn't have pictured that in NXT, but it's happening now. And Pat McAfee he was an All-Pro punter, so that kick to Adam Cole, he kicked the hell out of him, knocked him out.
Definitely, yeah. Like people are just saying like Pat McAfee is just some podcaster. That's definitely not the case. Let's not undersell his work. Like I'm not a big fan of the guy either, but it makes sense. Like the guy was a professional kicker. Like he is good with his leg that he kicks with. So of course that's going to knock somebody out. And then it also protects Adam Cole in some shape or form because like, it was a cheap shot. Like they didn't, I know buried gets used very loosely, but they're really trying to protect Adam Cole, and I don't really think it necessarily worked with the people. But the fact that it's a cheap shot, he is a punter, like he's a professional kicker. So like I do expect a kick to knock somebody out.
Yeah, word to Randy Orton and the punt.
Yeah, right. Like you kick somebody in the head, they're gonna get knocked out. I don't necessarily care how big you are,
We'll see. I'm the build up to this match should be intriguing to say the least. The match that I mean, they're gonna have to build it some way. I think Pat's show was off this week because he's on his honeymoon, but he'll be back next week. So it'd be funny if like the Undisputed Era showed up to his podcast. We'll see.
I say they jump him like they did Ciampa.
Well, jeez. I mean, I'm along for the ride. I'll see where you take me. All right. It
was a very bumpy start. Like the seatbelt was too hot, but like I'm gonna see where they go with this. How this goes on moving forward.
Dakota Kai and Rhea Ripley. Rhea beat the hell out of Dakota.
Yeah, that was really weird. I was just like, so when is Dakota gonna get offense in?
This was a weird booking to me because I mean, we said this last week. Dakota should be the number one contender. She is, but it didn't feel that way.
Yeah,
it felt like if you're gonna have somebody go against Io Shirai and really make me feel like they're a threat, you wouldn't have booked the match this way. Like Rhea just had her way throughout the entire match.
Rhea was really beating like the hell out of her, and I just thought, when is Dakota Kai gonna start cheating to like get ahead? And she didn't really cheat much, I guess, except not at all. Like
she had help.
Somebody else just interfered.
But it was somebody else. It was Mercedes Martinez of the Rob Stone brand. I look at this match and I'm like, you know what? I get it. Robert Stone wants obvious revenge on Rhea. Mercedes, that would be her first big feud. It makes
good
total
stuff.
sense.
Yeah, really good stuff. Like we kind of called this. J5 mentioned it, and we talked about it a little bit, off mic. And I was just like, yeah, that sounds like fantastic. That sounds good. I definitely like where they're going to go with that, and they did it.
I mean, they
should go really well.
They heated Rhea back up to me, but they got to do something with Dakota. Dakota's going to have to beat up Io considerably in the next 2-3 weeks in order for me to be a believer. Right now, like she
got to the weekend.
'Cause, like,
to like just beat her at some point.
Yeah, because like right now I'm just like, oh well, you know, this is gonna be a nice,
Yeah.
easy win for Io. And where's Raquel?
Hey man, she was probably outside, and they said, nope, can't come to work.
Yeah, like her, you know, having Raquel being the strong hand, like that would kind of put the fear in Io as well, because now she's got to beat the both of them. But like Raquel's been missing.
Well, Io hasn't really been on the show either. It's been like 2 weeks now since she's been on the show. You know, it didn't really necessarily need her because, you know, she doesn't really have anything to necessarily do until there is a number one contender, which there is now. But, you know, she didn't really have to be on the shows. But yeah, it's weird that Raquel's gone. Definitely could have been like a difference maker in this.
We'll see.
And then Io's just been gone for like quite some time.
I know. Bring Raquel back on the show. Moving on.
Yeah.
So the locker room got their asses kicked this week. Keith Lee and Cameron Grimes. That was another squash. Well, not
a squash.
Not a squash, but like Cameron Grimes.
It was a very story match.
Yeah, Keith Lee was grumpy. Let's just say. And after the match, Karrion Kross is forcing his hand because, of course, William Regal's saying, like, you got to earn your title shot here. Karrion Kross beat the hell out of whoever was in the locker room.
I like this a lot because while Keith Lee was taking his super sweet time handling Cameron Grimes, Karrion Kross was like bodying like 5 dudes in the back, you know, like racking up like kills. And it was just like, you know, I thought that was a really, I'm not sure if many people are going to think about it like that way, but when you look at it in that light, like that's really good storytelling there. Like that works really well for Karrion Kross, former hired gun, apparently.
We've already had a numerous accounts of either murder or alleged murder in the wrestling world this week. Now that with the Karrion Kross supposed news that just dropped that you just alluded to, they've done a really good job making him a monster. I'm like thinking in my mind that like, oh, he could possibly beat Keith Lee. Like he is damn near unstoppable, and like Keith Lee has not faced anybody like that in NXT yet. So like, I feel for Danny Burch next week.
Oh, they're having a match next week?
Yeah,
I must have missed that.
Karrion Kross and Danny Burch next week.
Rest in peace to the guy. But Keith Lee and Karrion Kross need to have like one backstage brawl before 30.
What, the underground match? Hey, Karrion Kross tweeted and said that, hey, I want to be in this. Put them in the underground.
Hey, I saw him get his ass. I already saw him tap out in Bloodsport, but maybe he could beat up like some jobber. But I definitely think like him and Keith Lee need to like actually like throw hands at some point before 30.
So you did mention Damian Priest. So it was Lorcan, Holland, and Priest for one of those spots. Yo, Holland is good.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
I remember a couple matches for NXT UK, but you know, I did read that a lot of people are high on him, and considerably because he really showed something in this match. I hope they use him more in NXT going forward. I don't know how the hell they got him over here, but they did.
had him in a shipping container.
But they did, and the triple threat was better for it. Damian Priest won. I think we all kind of knew. We called that last week. He moves on. Of course, he's going to fight. Oh, man. I'm not going to call him this. I'm not going to call him the nickname.
Bro, just Bronson Reed, bro.
Yeah, I was like, in my mind, I'm like, they call him, because I remember Chris, he's like, oh, thick boy, and stuff like that. And I'm like, nah, man, it's Bronson Reed. I can't call him.
I'm just like, Beth Phoenix on commentary said people called him Thick Boy, and then he inherited the name. And I was just like, who was out here calling him Thick Boy, bro?
I don't remember. Like, who's the first person who called him that?
Like, nobody. They can't. That man has thick boy on his Titantron forever, bruh. But I do like a lot of the stuff that they're doing with Bronson Reed.
Him and Damian Priest will be fighting next week as well.
I believe shenanigans, for sure.
Yeah, I don't. I see that's being a DQ and somebody getting involved.
Mm-hmm.
One of the men who've probably been eliminated already. But the NXT parking lot continues to be a dangerous place, apparently, because Legado del Fantasma beat the hell out of Breezango.
And rightfully so. He said, "My culture is not your costume," and beat the hell out of Fandango. I'm with it.
Listen,
it's really nice to see how much they're growing.
Hey, cultural appropriation has been put on notice for recent months, and Breezango is not immune to that. They definitely caught an ass whoop.
Mm-hmm. Rightfully so. I wonder where they're going to go next. He did mention Isaiah Swerve Scott, but like, what's going to be after that?
You know, I mean, I think Justin may have mentioned this, and maybe with basically Undisputed Era turning face, it was going to be Phantasma versus Undisputed Era. But I don't know if Undisputed Era is going to be there much longer. I say this every damn show. And they are there. And I don't know. Like, that would be cool. But if they run roughshod over Breezango, well, they already did. If they beat Isaiah Swerve Scott and then Drake Maverick, I mean, he's going to need some friends. Like, yeah, where do they go after this? I don't know.
I hope they're not just relegated to cruiserweight status, and they can probably dip their fingers in the North American title scene, probably, or a tag team title scene. I would like that a lot.
NXT needs tag teams, so if they want to do that and go after the titles, like, that would be dope. That'd be really dope.
I'm with it.
All right, before we move on, next week, as mentioned, we got Karrion Kross, Danny Burch, Bronson Reed, Damian Priest. Kushida makes his return against Cameron Grimes.
That's right.
And a mystery opponent. Who do we think the mystery opponent is going to be?
I saw Chris say Ciampa. I'll probably go with Ciampa because I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head right now. But you know who needs to be in one of these triple threat matches? Shane Thorne, because he really balled out in his match with Bronson Reed.
Shane Thorne was actually supposed to get moved to, I believe, Raw, but COVID stopped that.
No,
he's good. He's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And he needs to be that would be cool.
And then Bronson Reed was supposed to be at NXT UK, but COVID stopped everything.
NXT UK right now, if that's even going to be.
Hey, they still active. I don't care what anybody say.
I hope so. One last thing. Indy and Tegan looked better the second time around.
Yes. Oh my God, that first match was not that great, but very impressive this time around.
Tegan gets the win. I think that she's going to go after Candice next.
I was surprised Candice didn't just outright come after the match and just beat her head in, but we could do a slow burn, I guess.
See, listen, we just talked about multiple women's matches, storylines in one show. It could be done. It can
easily could be done, but ratings have to have a debate.
I do care about next week. See, I care about that match. I do. I mean, it's the biggest match of my life.
Yeah, right it is.
It's also the biggest match of your life too, Chris.
Really?
Can you imagine, Chris? I mean, you're Chris Jericho, man. You've done it all. All the things that we can Google later. But I'm telling you right now, Chris, what if Chris Jericho loses to the guy that puts his hands in his pockets?
With that segue, let's talk about AEW Dynamite. you mentioned the debate. Listen, the Orange Cassidy part of the debate, I loved it. He cut a hell of a promo. Chris Jericho, he was really trying to cut ass on Orange Cassidy. Cool, like, that's what he does. And then they did the whole thing where, like, they talked about global warming. I didn't expect Orange Cassidy to talk at all. I thought that was just going to be...
that was my prediction as well.
But he cut...
And I honestly thought he was only going to say something during the global warming thing, but I'm glad he did say something at the end of the promo, and it was really good. I'm glad they did that for him, because I thought it was just going to be boring as hell.
He cut a spirited babyface promo, kind of like probably the best of the show, and promptly got beat up again. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing with Orange Cassidy in the Inner Circle.
Yeah, but I thought it was really funny. Like, he did his whole promo on Chris Jericho, and then Jericho was just like, you know what? I'm going to beat the hell out of you next week. Nah, I'm going to do it right now. Get him, Jake.
Yeah, get him,
and
Jake.
then just and then they just bodied him. I was just like, y'all didn't have to do that.
And
or,
just hold up his lifeless body up after. Just like, he's just... Yeah.
Babyface things, though.
Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy will fight next week for $7,000. Oh, if Orange Cassidy loses, because he has to replace that jacket that he ruined for Chris Jericho.
Very...
Yeah, it's a weird stipulation. First of all, that costs $7,000.
Doubt. Just like he said, that sports car he was about to give Moxley cost like he was just like, it's the most expensive sports car, and it wasn't.
I thought that
it is what it is. Jericho, big capper.
Well, I thought that jacket was basically on Macklemore thrift store status, man. Like, I was like, I don't know about that. Like $7,000. All right, okay. I think Orange Cassidy's gonna win though. I would probably let's get him a big one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. Boy, did this shit have color.
And boy, did it go wrong, because it for sure wasn't supposed to have color.
Matt Hardy came out, and of course he's mad. This Sammy Guevara thing happened long ago. Like, they were teasing at a potential feud with them because Matt Hardy wanted to take Sammy Guevara under his wing, which is weird because Sammy Guevara has way more wins than him, so why would he do that? Then he gets mad, and they have a fight. And I'm not sure if it happened on the elbows that Sammy was doing, where he was trying to open
the chair.
up hard way, or the chair. But Matt Hardy was bleeding right before the whole table spot. Apparently, Sammy got reprimanded after that. But this is leading to a singles feud between the two. And I'm not sure if... I predicted, because I didn't know that it was an accident, thought this would be the way for Matt Hardy to kind of go... Because he's been trying to be a serious guy. Maybe this was going to go back to the Three Faces of Hardy, but it was an accident. So maybe, I guess it's just going to be Matt Hardy straight against Sammy Guevara.
It probably, they can, hopefully they find a way to work with it with, maybe it will just be straight Matt Hardy, because like he is super serious after getting hit with the chair, like, career could have been like taken from me, blah blah blah. So like, screw the shenanigans. Like, I'm really about it, So they could probably play with it like that. But also, I just find like Matt Hardy is trying to take Sammy Guevara away from Chris Jericho, who literally is not doing him any wrong. Like,
him and Chris Jericho win together. He wins in singles. He has more wins than Matt Hardy does. So why would...
Yeah, so, like, I really don't... It's just like, yeah, you can, like, do the thing without being the bad guy, but it's just like, all right, I see what you do as the good guy, and you ain't really doing much.
Like, you were teleporting in an empty stadium. I could do that, or I could hang out with the Inner Circle. Teleporting, drones, Inner Circle.
Well, I'm this dork. This guy a dork, bro. Matt Hardy a dork.
Weird hair, Inner Circle. Talking in 3 different personalities, Inner Circle. Inner Circle wins. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like, I'm like, Sammy Guevara is not on the bad end of the stick like Pride and Powerful are.
Let's talk about them because they lost this week. Surprise, surprise. And then commentary alluded that they hadn't been in the top 5 of the rankings since February. But they did show some fire afterwards, particularly to a car.
Sue's van.
Sue's van is trash. That's. I was looking at that. That's at least $3,000 worth of damage there.
Yeah, they really messed up the van up, and I don't know. At first, when I first saw it, I was just like lose to the best friends, really? Like, you guys can't get a win on the best friends?
They did challenge for the title. The best friends did like a couple weeks back, but
and they lost. But I just feel like they could have got like a sure win, and they could have still did the thing where they haven't been on the rankings since February and still get a win, and then still trash the van, all that. And now they're gonna have a rematch. I'm still not a big fan of the best friends. I don't like Trent like that, so that's mainly where the complaint really comes from.
I'm hoping that with them trashing Sue's van, that Santana and Ortiz can get some heat back and get some wins under their belt.
Yeah.
Like, make something of what they just did. Don't just have it like, oh, we're just going to trash the van and then next week, business as usual, we're going to keep losing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I really hope that's not the case.
The last match that they won on Dynamite, because they've won some on Dark, was the May 28th one. So, we're in August. Like, let's get some Santana and Ortiz some wins.
They don't even get wins on Dark. Like, that's insane.
No, they won on Dark. I'm just talking in terms of Dynamite, the main show.
Oh, okay.
They win on Dark.
Damn, they be winning on Dark and still not in the top 10. I mean, top 5.
Dude, they have like 18 tag teams. Like, it would literally take me 5 minutes to list all the AEW tag teams. That's
and then you say Dark Order, and there's like 3 teams under the Dark Order.
Yeah. This week's the Dark Order Orbit. There was a 12-man tag, of course, because AEW. They love their multi-man matches. So you had the Elite versus Dark Order and FTR. Dax looked like he got hurt. I think it's a work. It looked like, I'm like, oh wow, he was really hurt. Until I saw Hangman go back there with them and kind of leave Kenny and the Young Bucks to be. Then Hangman goes back, he gets the heat. And then, he has his thing with Brody Lee. I don't remember the last time Hangman has lost a match, so when Brody pinned him, I was like, wow, this is a big deal. So Hangman is going to have to answer kind of leaving his team for FTR, especially if it comes out that FTR kind of faked it to kind of leave the match. And also, it kind of alludes to the eventual Brody Lee Hangman singles match that I don't know if it's going to happen next week because it's Tag Team Appreciation Night. Comical.
Well,
it's comical, especially if you don't include the women here. But yeah, there's a couple ways
it's about to have zero. There's about to be 8 men in the ring, 0 women.
But what'd you think of this whole rigmarole?
I thought the match was too long. Honestly, that's just about it. I'm not a big fan of the multi-man matches, and I think this is like the biggest multi-man match that AEW has like ever had. 12 men. Like, I think that might be the biggest. It's all right. I didn't hate it, but it was cool. Like, I don't really have any thoughts on this this AEW episode because I can't really think what would excite me about next week.
Next week, I'll run down the card for next week after we're done with this point because we got to get to last rites in a little bit. But Darby Allin and Jon Moxley. I like this match because Jon Moxley's promo put over Darby huge because he's basically saying he's the younger version of me and he's a tough SOB but listen, stay down. Because that goes to Darby's thing where he just doesn't quit. He doesn't quit in the match even with like John Moxley basically throwing everything at him, and they actually tease with little help from MJF, Darby possibly winning and upsetting John Moxley. Of course, Moxley won, but
you know me, man. I'm not a fan of the interferences, especially since the interference more or less didn't really affect the finish at all. Like, I don't even think like I think Darby just got like a near fall, and like that was it. And I was just like, and I was just like, oh, if you're gonna do it, at least like let it affect the outcome, or actually play like a much bigger part, because a couple seconds later, like that interference meant like nothing because John was like still going at it,
Yeah, I like how Mox embraced Darby afterwards. Like, I think eventually
that was cool.
Down the road, and Darby's probably going to be their next babyface champ, I think.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
like way down the road. What I thought was funny is MJF is continuing this campaign, but he already got the title match.
Corny.
So like, I'm like,
when watching that segment, corny. This whole thing is ass. This whole like presidential thing is ass. I hate it so bad.
I get the presidential thing to fit his character, especially with our political stuff that's going on right now.
But
it's just that
But it's just weird to me that he's doing, the presidential thing, and then you also have Jericho and Orange Cassidy doing the, presidential debate thing. It's just like, for what?
Oh, by the way, like I didn't mention this, but Eric Bischoff made an appearance during the debate. It was kind of inconsequential, but it was kind of cool to see him back on TNT programming.
My favorite thing about the whole Eric Bischoff being there was Chris Jericho going, "I never liked you in 22 years," and then Eric Bischoff goes, 24. That really killed me. I like that a lot.
That was funny. It was. I don't think that Eric is going to come back in I think this is just a one-off. Well, I hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, now AEW is bringing back everybody from Era.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
I hope they do something with Darby Allin, like soon, relatively soon, because like Moxley embracing him after the match, like he put him over like really huge, man. So it's just like, let's start actually like really capitalizing off this sort of thing.
Like Cody did that, Moxley has done that. He's got to do something. And I guess with Ricky Starks and Brian Cage, if Moxley's looking forward to MJF, they're going to have to do something with Darby Allin. So I think that's his next feud. Him and Brian Cage.
And I'm not really trying to like, dunk on the kid or anything, but out of a lot of these like new generation stars that they've been trying to make, my fault, Jungle Boy ain't doing nothing, man. What's up with that?
We've talked about this. Listen.
Like,
you want him to cut a promo, and I said that it will be time for it eventually, but you can't. Have him cut a promo when he's having like a singles like feud that means something. Like, you don't want him to just like cut a promo just to sake for a cut a promo. This week.
I understand, but it's just like you're gonna have to talk eventually. Like, that's just like a thing that everybody like normally says. But like when he was doing his little feud with Chris Jericho, he cut like one promo and it was okay, So it's just like, he doesn't even have to cut a promo. At least put him on the show. I mean, he could have been on the show.
Well, he's on the show next week. They go against Omega and Hangman. Him and Luchasaurus.
Oh, rip.
So next week you have Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy, Cody Rhodes versus Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky cut a promo on Dark saying he's been racking up wins on Dark, but he does not want it to be a ceiling. He's coming for something more. That's why you saw the challenge or the non-verbal challenge. You got Kenny Omega and Hangman versus Jurassic Express. Young Bucks versus Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, and an appearance from the Rock and Roll Express on Tag Team Appreciation Night. For the love of everything, please at least mention the Women's Tag Team Cup Tournament. Please. If this is Tag Team Appreciation Night, and you don't mention that, like...
Or, no, I want them on the show.
Yes, please put one
if they're
match on the
If
show.
they're not on the show, then the tournament is basically over.
Like, I'm assuming that they're going to debut more people. Because
Also,
you have to fill those teams. So if you have somebody big in store, this is the episode to show it. You know what I mean? Like, this is
also,
the way to do it.
who's getting excited for the Rock and Roll Express in 2020? Like, come on, guys. The Rock and Roll Express in 2020? Get that shit out of here.
Dog,
Get it out of here.
Is going to do a hell of a Canadian
Gonna do
destroyer.
Yeah, like, old guy does a Canadian destroyer. Like, Dustin didn't make that like his finisher. Dog, get that shit out of here. I'm not going up for Arn Anderson. I'm not going up for Rock and Roll Express. Like, get these old dudes out of here.
One final point, Matt Cardova. How'd you think he did in the tag match, his first match?
Standard Zack Ryder stuff.
He got the hat tag.
It's okay, but it never. He's just still like he still wrestles the same. So
I just have to see.
I like him the same.
I have to see him in the singles program. Cody took most of the brunt of the punishment from Silver.
I thought
and
that was
Reynolds.
cool.
It was all right. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, all right, cool. Let's get Matt Cordova over.
Can we think about how large Dark Order is that they're in 2 tag matches this week?
Well, not only in 2 matches, right? 2 matches following each other. There was the Dark Order, I believe, like the Dark Order match, the 12-man happened. And then something happened. And then here comes Silver and Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of time to devote to Dark Order.
Yeah, and Dark Order should get some gold soon. You know, to like really show that they're like really a threat. You know.
Let's hope, man. Let's move it on to Last Rites. That's, of course, every Wednesday night we ask for listener comments on what they think about AEW Dynamite or NXT. So we thank you guys for doing that. We got 4 this week. Let's start off with Seth Superkick. What's up, Seth? I like the idea of Yui as baby faces for the time being, as you could squeeze a month or two's worth of new programs out of it, and they're not immediately needed on the main roster while they're building up to SummerSlam. Becoming more and more of a fan of the Keith and Cross build-up, and Dexter Lumis needs to be strapped right up, because Lumis Hive is then, now, forever NXT ruled ass. I'm sorry, because Dexter Lumis is hurt. It's sad.
It hurts so much. You know that picture of Will Smith and it just says pain? That's how I feel, man.
Yeah, man. Get well, Dexter Lumis, because Lumis Hive is still here, and we are live and here every week, man.
Whoever qualifies to replace his spot, I still don't think it's going to be Johnny Gargano or Finn Balor, but we'll see how that goes.
It's probably going to be Ciampa. Yeah, it's going to
Ciampa in the ladder match, I don't really know, but it is what it is. Like, he's been in a ladder match before, of course, but like, I don't think he's like needed for a ladder match currently in this pool of like new stars. Like,
yeah, like,
so
smuggle somebody over here, man. Get like Tyler Bay over here. Get Walter over here to be.
Yeah, man. Bring like
Walter
Dave
in the ladder
Mastiff
match?
or something.
Jeez.
I mean, I wouldn't mind it.
Somebody's getting chopped off a ladder. I know that.
Yeah, you always got to get that guy that like doesn't seem like he should be in a ladder match, and he's probably not going to like do any ladder shenanigans. He's just there to be huge. Like, that's basically it. That might be Rich Holland might be in that match since he didn't get pinned or submitted. So who knows?
This one's for Caleb Caitlin. NXT was a mixed ass bag. The triple threat with Priest, Lorcan, and Holland was fire. The ending to NXT was terrible. Triple H has got to throw Adam Cole in some rice because he wanted to let Pat McAfee punt his former NXT champ in his shit. NXT, AEW was just alright, but we need justice for LAX. Also, Jon Moxley has 0 slaps in the past 3 years. He's not better just because he can give the middle finger like 95% of everyone in the AEW roster. Also, Zack Ryder for AEW Dark. Ouch.
I think the match that he had with Darby Allin was cool, despite the interference, which I disliked a lot, and I wasn't a big fan of Darby Allin kicking out of the Gotch style power driver. I definitely think that should have been the finish.
Minoru Suzuki would have been pissed. If he was,
I'm sick for him. I'm sick for him.
By the way, little tidbit: it looks like they are alluding to Shingo and Minoru Suzuki feuding for the never openweight title.
I guess.
It's a big
New Japan is out of my rotation for this year. That's all I have to really say. But yeah, and I'm just like I said, Zack Ryder is the same Zack Ryder, so I don't like him more or less. I'm just not. It's just whatever to me that now that he's on AEW.
Oh man. Okay, so for Seth Superkick, he left that comment last week, but it happened after we recorded the show. But he's back this week, so thank you, Seth, for this.
two times.
Dakota winning against Rhea was absolutely the right choice. Her against Io is going to slap hard. Also, Rhea and Mercedes is going to be a really dope second women's match for TakeOver. If that's the case, as sad as I am that Lumis is out of the ladder match, if we somehow get, say, Ridge against Finn and Johnny against Kushida in 2 weeks' time out of this, I can't help but to be excited. Ridge really impressed me in the triple threat, but the right guy ultimately won to Damian Priest. As much as I have no idea what the finish of the match is going to be, the build-up to Keith Lee and Karrion Kross is heat. And I think that these two men would have the potential to put on an absolute banger. I agree. Bronson Reed and Tegan Knox got some pretty strong wins on the show. Not much to say here. Legado del Fantasma is quickly becoming my favorite NXT acts. And Escobar against Swerve, whenever that happens, is going to be heat rocks. Last but not least, best of luck to Adam Cole being tasked with the carry job of the lifetime at TakeOver 30. Man's really got to put on his working boots for this one. NXT as usual is really good once again.
I agree.
I don't think that there's gonna be some crazy
shenanigans
stuff. Yeah, there's gonna be some crazy stuff happening in the Pat McAfee match. They'll do some moves, but he'll have some backup. Maybe it's Imperium. Somebody's gonna attack Adam. It's just not gonna be a straight. If it's a straight match, oh man, I don't know. He said the video that he sent this few hours ago. He's like, listen, man, I'm on my honeymoon. I got 2 weeks to prepare, but at least he's got the punt. He's got the boot. Maybe just he can kick Adam Cole repeatedly.
If Adam Cole gets caught on the ropes or something, and then McAfee kicks him out cold, and the ref calls for the bell, I'm launching my headphones into the satellite. That's how it's gonna go.
Can you imagine the talk that Triple H would have of Adam Cole of doing that? Listen, man, I know. I'm just gonna need you to let Pat just kick you into the stratosphere, man. I'm just gonna just do this for me, brother.
Adam Cole gonna really have to hit. He gonna have to hit you with the "fuck you, bro." That's the energy that I'd probably give. Nah, I'm not letting him kick me to the moon, brother.
Oh, man. Last one from our dude, Ipo. Ipo here once again with another long-ass response. It's all good, man. We appreciate it. I thought NXT was good this week. There was a slight dip from last week's episode, but nothing too alarming positives. Dakota and Rhea was a banger. Now they started the Rhea-Mercedes feud. I'm hyped for that. Oni, Priest, and Holland was great. We all knew Priest was going over. Oni was always going to show out, but in a losing effort. I think we said that he was going to take the pin. I didn't know what to expect from Holland, but it came away very intrigued and like what I saw. I love how they positioned Legado del Fantasma as the new top heel group, establishing what they're about from the jump with their pride in Lucha Libre and not just being a gimmick. Escobar and Swerve are going to kill it in their match. Negatives. Lee and Grimes dragged a bit to me, but the end sequence was good.
Yeah.
I agree. Cross decimating Oni and Birch was good, but counterproductive when you need tag teams for the division. He did kind of lay them to waste, and he probably will do that to Birch next week.
They'll be all right. They'll be all right.
Birch will, damn, Birch is going to get he's going to get whooped twice in 2 weeks. Jeez. I think it should have been Yim, unless they're saving it for next week. I wasn't feeling the Cole McAfee angle at all, especially with him being on commentary, but slightly shifted my opinion once I saw where they were going with it and seen and heard the punt. Damn, do you think they're setting up the Cole? Well, they are. Or does Pat have someone do his dirty work for him? That can also happen too within 2 weeks. I think
have Undisputed Era jump him. Have Undisputed Era jump him, and then McAfee, in his crutches. I don't know if I could fight, but I'm gonna get somebody to get you. And we probably get people say Triple H. I think that'd be crazy, but that'd be heat though.
Can you imagine if Pat had, like you said, like Undisputed Era jump Adam Cole, and then you have Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole going. You remember their wars in New Japan and ROH. That ROH match, the last one that they had.
The one where I think Cole lost his teeth?
Yeah.
J5 sent me that, I think like Thanksgiving last year.
That was when they were like, all right, is O'Reilly leaving? I remember all that. And like, that was dope. I would love to see them fight again. All in all, a good episode this week, continuing the lead up to TakeOver 30. Oh, and who do you think will be the third guy in Grimes and Kushida qualifier? We did say Ciampa. I'm hoping for another NXT UK guy, but I feel like it's going to be... Yeah, he said it's going to be Ciampa. If it's him, he's going over. But if not, I think Kushida will. Man, Kushida better... If they...
Kushida better have to say Ciampa the God?
Listen... Ciampa has been there since my first podcast, Mike, 3 years ago. Yeah. And it's time for Ciampa. Like, I understand that Ciampa is a big guy, a big name in NXT, but please cash in on Kushida. Kushida had like those fire matches where they were kind of different. Like, he was doing submission stuff and like. It brought a new flavor to the show. He gets hurt, and then you don't see him for a while. Why even bring him over here? It's not like New Japan was really doing anything with him other than like fight Ospreay or fight, like Hiromu.
But like not having him on the show isn't that great either.
Yeah, have Kushida win, please, please.
I think Kushida will win. Like if we just look at the ladder matches, really all new stars, and we think that like Ciampa is going to go over, but like Roderick Strong, Johnny Gargano didn't go over, Finn Balor didn't go over. Like that's insane. Like that's really big stuff. That's nothing to like bat your eyes towards. So I think Kushida might take it, even if like Ciampa is like maybe he just won't get pinned and then he'll be in that like weird triple threat match, I guess, to replace Dexter Lumis. And then you get a lot of cool stuff in there. You get Ciampa and Gargano in there, knowing their history. Balor's in there, which is going to be crazy. Rich Holland is going to toss them around. And then it's going to be a grand old time.
I like to see that everybody's high on Rich Holland.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a good future, man. Like, keep him over here. Like, have him do some stuff.
Let's get some NXT UK women over here, man. Let's get it, man.
Keep up the good
Tony
work, guys.
Storm.
Much love for your guy Epo. Thank you, Epo. Thank you for everybody who sent responses in. I'm with you there too. Like, we said this last week. Who we wanted to come over from NXT UK? Like I said, like I think the travel alert just went down for the US. At least like travel to from today. Like it's not stage 4 anymore. So other countries have banned us going over there, but for them coming over here, maybe it's a little better. Maybe you have a little bit room to go, and we can get a Jenny over here. We get a Tony Storm over here. We can get Pete Dunne back.
Kaylee Ray, please.
Yes, Kaylee Ray. Like Kaylee Ray is the longest reigning champ in NXT right now, and I think the longest reigning women's champ. Bring her back over here and have some bangers with Tegan Knox or Io Shirai or a whole host of people. Hopefully, man. All right, I think that's our show for this week. As always, thank you for listening to us. You can follow us at RNC Radio Live on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to our channels wherever you listen to podcasts on the A Show Network. For myself and Cyrus, we got it looks like we got an action-packed show next week as well, especially the Tag Team Appreciation Night. We'll keep you posted on everything NXT and AEW. Be safe, and we will be back next Friday.